Welcome to the Center for Universal Oneness. We are an open, welcoming, spiritual community that supports all faith traditions and invites you to join us on your spiritual journey. We host different speakers each week to guide and inspire us. We are guided by universal principles of acceptance of all that is sacred, and we strive to live in the oneness of love. Please enjoy this presentation.
I'd like to introduce, but I think everybody here probably knows Kelley very well. She's been with us multiple times before. Today she's speaking on the rainbow and the gold. And just a couple of things. She is a singer, songwriter, artist, speaker, facilitator, and she's in Lawrence, Texas, or Lawrence, Kansas. She's working on a new album, so this is kind of neat. She's working on a holiday album that complements the winter solstice concerts that she will be performing, and some of those are coming up in the Folly Theater, December 17th, and tickets to that should be available soon, so you might want to get in on that as early as possible. So it seems a little odd to be working on Christmas already, but I think it probably is a good idea. And so you might want to write down her website. You'll remember it as Kelley Hunt, but it's Kelley, K-E-L-L-E-Y, Hunt. If you're trying, you can find out all about what she's up to. She's an amazing, centered, spiritual person who has been here before to gift us with her music as well as her thoughts on life and community and spirit. And I look forward to hearing what she has to say for us today. Kelley, would you take it away?
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Yeah? Well, as I do often, I'm going to start with a song and go right into my talk for today. Thank you for the color blue. I see the sky, I know it's you. Each day a chance to start anew. Oh, thank you for the color blue. Thank you for the color green, the color of the early spring, a new rebirth for everything. Oh, I thank you for the color green. It's beautiful what I see. All the colors shining down on me. Thank you for the color pink, softer than an angel wing. The glow of sunrise makes me sing, and I thank you for the color pink. Thank you for the black of night, a background for the stars, pure light. I rest my head and I close my eyes, and I thank you for the black of night. Oh, it's beautiful what I see. All of the colors shining down on you and me. Thank you for the color blue. I see the sky, and I know it's you. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. So this morning, before we even got out of bed, we heard thunder in the distance, and what a big blessing that was. It's so hot here, it feels like a furnace, and I imagine it does wherever you may be as well. And if it doesn't, then good for you. The ground's been dry, and in fact, where we live, the ground has been splitting open in little cracks here and there. And every day we water the tomatoes and the flowers, hibiscus, and we keep our fingers crossed. We refill the hummingbird feeder and put out water and just hope for the big blessing of rain. And there it eased in this morning. We didn't get a whole lot of it, but what we got felt like a relief. And as everybody knows, when it rains, there is many times a chance for a rainbow. But what if I told you there not only isn't a pot of gold at the rainbow, at the end of the rainbow, there really isn't any rainbow, or at least the rainbow isn't what you think. You might be looking at me crazy because we've all seen a rainbow, but the rainbow is one of nature's greatest optical illusions. They're formed when water droplets in the atmosphere refract or bend, and sunlight is in just the right circumstance. But we, as the observers, have to catch them from just the right angle and point of view as well in order to even see what we know as a rainbow. We obviously see the refraction of light, but it's what we interpret it to be. Everybody sees it differently and at their own angle. And we're all familiar with the idea of the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. In fact, many people spend their entire lives trying to find the metaphorical pot of gold at the end of their rainbows. The reward that's available is not the pot of gold, but it's the rainbow itself, and that's a pretty cool reward. There's not only a sense of awe when we see it many times, but it doesn't happen every day, and we don't want to miss it. Have you ever looked out your window or been in your car or seen the beginnings of a rainbow and you think, oh, there it is, there it is. And we pull over and we take a photo, we run outside, and many times it expands and it gets larger, and sometimes we've seen double and even triple rainbows. What we're not seeing is the whole rainbow itself. We're just seeing the arch. We're just seeing a little piece of that rainbow. If we're lucky enough to see a round rainbow, it usually means that we're in an airplane and we're looking down through the clouds or the skies. And a good friend of ours, Karen Miriam Goldberg, who was the poet laureate of our state of Kansas for 4 years, was on a trip with her husband to New York to go to her homeland where she grew up. She grew up in New Jersey, and her father had a bookstore. He had a stamp store down underneath in all the shops that used to be underneath the World Trade Center. And so every year they make a pilgrimage. In fact, they're leaving this week to go there again, to go to all her old haunts and visit friends and just be in that environment that feels so comforting to her. And on one of their trips recently, her husband Ken looked out the window of the plane and he went, oh, and they looked out the window and they saw an entire round rainbow. And there it was in all its glory. And it was breathtaking. They'd never seen that before, and many of us haven't. And her husband is, he works with the Kansas Land Association. He takes a big interest in land preservation and conservation, and he has a very, in many ways, a very scientific mind. And so he looked up the term for a round rainbow. Is there a term for that? And it's called a glory. And how cool is that? It's called a glory. So it is, the term for a round rainbow almost describes how we feel when we see it. But when we remind ourselves, we're not seeing the whole thing. We're just seeing the refracted light. It always has to rain. The rain has to have already come through, and the sun has to be at our back in order to see that beautiful sight. And as children, many of us learned just the fable and the stories about, oh, there's a pot of gold and a leprechaun, and if you can find the end of that rainbow, boy, there's the big prize. And we even had fun drawings and books and stuff about that. Part of my heritage is Irish. All my siblings have Irish names: Chris Ann, Eric Michael, Kelly Jean, Stacy Lynn. And my mother's maiden name was Timmons, so there's a big Irish factor in our lineage. But as far back as the 17th century, the Irish were fond of saying that one was as likely to find a pot of gold as to find the end of a rainbow. And that expression somehow got changed and became part of a fairy mythology. Science tells us that rainbows really don't have an end, since their arch shape is an illusion. And it means no matter how hard you try, you can never get close enough to a rainbow to see its end, but don't despair, depending on how you look at it. It could also mean that there are an infinite number in the sky when the conditions are just right. You could be standing at the end of a rainbow right now. We are all reflections of light. We have all, as we well know, every one of us, everyone that I know, has been through some kind of storm and some kind of driving rain in our lives that we wondered if we would ever get through. We longed for that pot of gold at the end of that. We longed to see the light come back into our hearts and our spirits and our lives. It's all about perception. There's a principle that says thoughts create experiences. Human beings create their experiences by the activity of their thinking. Everything in the manifest realm has its beginning in thought. We are co-creators with God, creating reality through thoughts that we hold in our minds. We create our life experiences through our way of thinking. So if we, in the metaphysical sense, feel as though we're always chasing after the pot of gold and we're working so hard and we are wearing ourselves out, waiting for the big reward, when in fact, with that mindset, we miss the colors that are around us, the people that are loving us in the meantime, the beautiful landscape that we walk through. Have you ever woken up and got into your day and felt like you just got off to a bad start or off on the wrong side of the bed? You didn't really know why. You felt kind of cranky and out of sorts. and you just kind of stomped through that day, and every little thing just set you off. And in the meantime, while this was happening, there was your beloved making you breakfast. There were the birds that were singing outside your window. There was the car that you were fortunate enough to drive, and the food that you were fortunate enough to eat, and the job that you had that gave you the income and the sustenance to not have to worry about finding a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow in order to be able to survive and provide for your family. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. If we water that grass right where we stand, what might we be missing when we are hurrying and working and trying to see where is my reward and why don't I have it right now? When in fact, if we stop for a moment, and I know many of you are good at this, and we take a deep breath and we relax our shoulders and we say, thank you. Even in the midst of the storm, even in the midst of the thunder, even in the midst of the lightning that appears to be striking all around us, if we just take a moment and we realize that our perception is what feeds our soul. Is there a rainbow around us in the form of the people who are brought into our lives? Make no mistake, I believe there are no coincidences. I believe things happen for a reason, whether we know what that reason is right now or not. Over the last 2 years, when the pandemic first started in March of 2020, I have to even think about when that was now. On March 14th of 2020, my husband and I decided to start doing Facebook Live concerts. We weren't used to doing that. We'd never done it. And we just thought, well, we'll plan a concert, an hour-long concert. We'll put it out there and see what happens. And we understood within 1 week's time that all of our touring and all of our dates that we had for 2020 were gone in 1 week, all of it. That meant all of our income. And we had to take a deep breath and we had to reset like many of us had to do. And we said, what can we do? It was hard to see the rainbow. It was hard to even envision a pot of gold when what that pot of gold we had set before us for the year was seemingly gone. Poof, just like that. Holy smokes, you guys, it was scary. So we thought, what can we do? How can we serve? If we're feeling this way, man, so many people all around the world are feeling this way too. And so we just decided to jump in and do it. And technically, things weren't all that great at the beginning. The first one, we stuck my iPhone up on a tripod and put it in front of me and came out to our studio where I am right now, and I just played for an hour not knowing if anybody was going to tune in. But I just said to the camera and to Al, who was on the other side, just the two of us out here, I said, hey, we're with you. We're all in this together. Here's some music. I hope you enjoy it. Have fun. I've picked these songs just for you today. Not even knowing if anybody was watching and not really understanding if I'd ever do it again. I just thought, boy, I got to do it now. I'm not seeing a rainbow here. I need to help myself get there so I can share something uplifting with others. And music was the one way I knew how to do that. So the concert was over, and took a deep breath. We thought, oh gosh, okay, well, I looked at my phone and there were 9,000 views of that concert. 9,000. Not from just the United States, from all over the world. And comments, hundreds of comments, people saying, I'm alone. I'm afraid. I'm glad to have an hour of relief. I feel better for a minute. Feels pretty good. And so once we realized that that was happening, we decided to do more. We ended up doing 58 more. And some of those we did outside. And one in particular I want to tell you about. Before there were vaccines or boosters or anything like that, we did most of the concerts by myself with just me and Al. But then we decided, well, maybe we can have a music guest or two in, but we'll have to be separate. We have a big acrylic drum shield that we put between me and James Albright, acoustic bassist, or me and one of my singers, Alina Ross. And then Al got a great idea. He said, let's go out on the driveway and let's do it outside. And back then they were saying you only want to have like 6 people around you. So we invited 6 of our neighbors. We live out in the country, and we said, hey, 7 o'clock on Saturday night, we're doing a Facebook Live. We're all going to be spread out. Wear your mask, bring your lawn chairs, and spread out on our gravel driveway, and we're going to play. And we were determined to do it. We called it Live on the Drive. We did a bunch of them. So we got all set up out on the driveway, and it was about 5 or 10 minutes before we started, and we could see a dark cloud start to roll in. We thought, oh, shoot. But we said, okay, we're going to just keep going. And we were right next to the studio with a big studio door open in case it really started to pour. We could scooch everything in real quick and say, goodbye, everybody. We'll be back next week. But guess what? That didn't happen. The storm that we could hear scooched around us. We got a few little drops, and we could see in the distance it was moving on. And so by the end of our concert, well, I'd say the last 10 minutes of the concert, I saw both Alina, the singer that works with me, and James look up at the sky and go, oh. And I turned and I looked, and there was a huge, bright, almost neon bright rainbow over our yard. And I had to tell the listening, the viewing audience, for those that most of them didn't even live in this area, I said, you guys, this is just what happened. I was so excited. And I thought to myself, I didn't necessarily say, oh, this is a sign, but I did feel uplifted. And I was so thankful for being able to see that beautiful thing in the midst of all the stress and all the worry and all the fear. And I got to share that with others all around the world and say, hey, no matter what storm you're plowing through, and we know they're big and we know they're serious, right here outside of Lawrence, Kansas, out on our little 1-acre plot on the gravel driveway, there's a big double rainbow. And I'm sending it to you right now. And I felt like that was a pot of gold that was given to us that we could share with others. We can't always see the whole picture, and things are not always what they seem to be. The gold at the end of the rainbow is a myth, and it can take our eyes off the prize of what is right before us, whether that's people, places, the ability to take a deep breath without pain. I think of my father, who is on oxygen 24/7 now. I think of my father who is going to be 95 on October 6th. And when we went to visit him 2 weeks ago, he was putting on a portable oxygen tank to go out into the yard to water his tomato plants to make sure they were okay. I said, Dad, it's 95 degrees outside. And he said, I know, I'm just going to be out for a few minutes. So, of course, I went out with him, and he had a plan. He had a little stool to sit on. He had his hose there already set out. He had a hat on. He was lugging this thing that was hard for him to lug around, but he was determined to do what made him feel good in here. And thankfully, he's physically able to still do that. And he came inside, and yes, he was hot. Yes, he was tired. But he sat in his chair, and he went, tomatoes are looking good. And he had 2 of them in his hand. And he put them on the plate on the table. And we had fresh tomatoes from Dad's garden. And that was his pot of gold. And in my world, he is one of my pots of gold. And I don't want to miss every effort around me of those who love me to make a good life for themselves and be a good example. So we want to replace the search for what we want. What can we get? Where's the gold? Where is it? With allowing. And he showed me through his actions that he wasn't fighting the fact that he needed oxygen. He was grateful to have it. He just did what he needed to do to get outside. He didn't fight the fact that it's hard for him or he can only be out there for a few minutes. He accepted it. He did what he could, and he came in with 2 tomatoes. I said, Dad, that is fantastic. You know, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. What are we teaching each other? What are we singing to each other? It's possible, and it doesn't have to be over anything. It can be right here, right now, while we are busy searching, believing in fairy tales. The real gift may be right in front of us. The search keeps us in motion, sometimes missing what is right there, perhaps replacing the motion with stillness of heart. Stillness of heart would be more helpful and more merciful for ourselves and for those around us. So here are a few things we might want to try this week. Become conscious of what you might be searching for, and just take a moment to simply be still. And if it's not too much with the heat or too much of a furnace of a day, maybe in the morning, take a walk. Literally walk away for a while. As a songwriter, I know that sometimes I have to get out of my own head to come up with creative ideas and solutions. I grew up hearing the advice, well, sleep on it. My psyche needs a break from striving and working and going. And so many times, if I just take a break and literally walk and just go out and walk and don't try to solve or think or do anything. When my son was young, he and I would go for walks, and I know that when we were both facing the same direction and not trying to talk about, any problems or what was going on, that many times that's when he would open up and tell me all kinds of things. And I wouldn't stop and look at him. I would just keep walking. There was no goal. There was no trying to fix or do. And many times that's when things would come up, and we would laugh and we would move on. And we would really hear each other. Next time you see a rainbow, and you know what, you might see one today if it's raining where you are. Simply stop, take it in, and appreciate that beautiful gift. When we see the actual end of a rainbow, it is what is right before us. The ground it lands on, it can land on us. And we want to remember we don't want to miss all the beautiful colors of that rainbow while searching for a pot of gold. I was in a parking lot one time, and I actually saw what looked like the end of the rainbow in the parking lot. That was an odd circumstance right there in the concrete. Here came the colors, and they appeared to land on that ground. I thought, well, hot dog, I'm going to walk right up to that and see what it looks like up close. And the closer I got, the more it tended to disappear. The closer I got, it was as I walked through it somehow. And it was really just mist and vapor and light, and I didn't see those colors. The closer I got, those seemed to disappear. I had to back up and have a different perspective to see what in the world that thing was. And it didn't last for very long. By the time I got back to where I was, I could see a little bit of it. It had already started to shift and change, and I thought, that's a fun secret that I didn't know before. I thought I saw it. I went up to it the closer I got, and it just, poof, it was just gone. So I want to end this before we go into meditation with one of my favorite quotes by one of my favorite writers, John O'Donohue. And it says, "May you recognize in your life the presence, power, and light of your soul. May you realize that you are never alone, that your soul in its brightness and belonging connects you intimately with the rhythm of the universe. May you have respect for your individuality and difference. May you realize that the shape of your soul is unique, that you have a special destiny here, that behind the facade of your life, there is something beautiful and eternal happening. So let's get ready to go into meditation. Get comfortable in your chair or wherever you may be, inside or outside today, whatever part of the world you're in. And take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Let's do that again. And we want to relax our shoulders and roll them back. And every aspect of our body, we want to breathe light and relaxation into. We relax the muscles of our face and our jaw, and we take a big yawn. And we release any tension, and we know that it's to our benefit to do so. We know that it is through the mind that we see the beauties of the earth and the sky, or music or art, that silent shuttle of thought working in and out through each cell and nerve, weaving into one harmonious whole the myriad moods of mind that we call life. As I sing the chorus to a song that talks about what we've been considering today, allow yourself to see in your mind's eye anything that brings you a sense of awe and relaxation and joy. Called a glory. What we survive in life is called a story. You only see the arc of it after the storm. See the whole miracle, you've got to hold on. The workaday miracle is where you belong. as we slowly and gently bring ourselves back to this moment, there's no hurry, there's no striving, and we know we are right where we are supposed to be. And we say, thank you for the color blue. I see the sky. I know it's you. And we breathe. And slowly and gently we come back to where we are right now. And gradually, when we're ready, we open our eyes and we breathe. And we say, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelley. Thank you. Thank you for your beautiful music and the inspirational way that you live your life with faith and such great examples, personal and suggestions for us. Just wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.